Thanks for joining me. My name is Labron Ellen. I am the founder of the Natural Health Clinic. So this presentation is going to be all about coffee. Is it good for you? Is it bad for you? You know, what is really the truth? Because we hear so much, it seems like, 5 years ago, coffee was terrible. Now coffee might be a superfood, and then there's everything in between. So what really is the case? Well, the true answer is coffee, is it bad for you? Yes and no. So let's talk about exactly when it is good for you and then in the situations in which may be potentially a problem. So first of all, how can coffee be beneficial? So the number one beneficial quality of coffee is that it is full of antioxidants. In fact, it is so remarkably high in antioxidants that it is one of the top 5 foods in the world as far as the amount of antioxidants. Now, why are antioxidants beneficial? Well, they are obviously to oxidation of the cells. What oxidation of the cells are is the aging process, the degeneration of the body, which means organs as well, all tissues of the body, and they help to counteract free radicals. So they can do quite a bit of beneficial things within the body as far as keeping you healthy and perhaps even slow the aging process. Now, one of the other benefits of coffee is that it has been shown to help improve circulation generally speaking, and then also circulation specifically, or blood flow specifically, into the brain. So that has in some studies shown that it might aid as far as a cognitive benefit, as far as maybe even somewhat preventing forms of dementias and things like that. So definitely there are benefits to coffee. One of the things to really think about as far as coffee is that coffee is a food. It is a bean. It's not really thought about like that because of how it's served and how we drink it across the globe, but it really is a food. Now, there are problems that can that you tend to run into with coffee, and it really has to do with the coffee itself, not so much with what you hear as far as one of the primary cons, so to speak, as far as coffee is involved, and that, of course, what I'm referring to is caffeine. We'll get to caffeine in just a minute. But going back to one of the major detrimental issues within coffee, that actually has to do with something called a mycotoxin. And you might say, what the heck is a mycotoxin? And I'll tell you, it is mold poop for all intents and purposes. So beans of any kind, peanuts, coffee beans in this case, when they are gathered and stored, it is quite possible that, and probable really, that there is mold that begins to grow on them. And so once these moldy beans, either peanuts, coffee beans, whatever the case may be, are ground, in the case of peanut butter, in this case into coffee grounds, then that kind of takes all that mold and their metabolic waste, the mycotoxin, and mixes it all into those coffee grounds. So what can be the detrimental effects of mycotoxins? Well, you can have things like heart palpitations, and it's interesting to note, kind of an aside, that the detrimental effects from mycotoxins are very commonly the detrimental effects that we hear regarding caffeine. So there are those who feel that the ill effects, the bad effects, the cons of coffee are really coming from the effects of the mycotoxins more so than the effects of caffeine. So just keep that in mind. So going back to the effects of the mycotoxins, I mentioned the heart palpitations. There are also brain fog. There can be kidney distress. It can damage your DNA. There's quite a few pretty bad effects that mycotoxins can have on your body. So that is one major negative to coffee. And of course, it has to do with the quality of the bean as well, and how they're processed and so forth. The second major detrimental effect of coffee is from the oils within the coffee. Now, again, once that coffee bean has been ground down into coffee, that means that the protective shell of the bean has been destroyed, and just like processing anything else, like wheat into a flour or oats into a flour, whatever, rolled oats or whatever the case may be, once you kind of break that husk or that bean, that shell casing, it tends to allow the oils that are within that substance to begin oxidizing and becoming rancid. Now, the effects of rancid oils are many. One of the primary effects is inflammation, severe inflammation, and also it can tend towards a carcinogenic effect within the body as well, which means cancer. So those are the major issues with coffee. Now, going to caffeine, if a person has thyroid issues, if they have adrenal issues, maybe if they have some types of autoimmune issues, then it may be that they need to consider eliminating coffee for a period of time, because the caffeine and the amount of caffeine in the coffee can affect individuals with those particular problems. So again, if you tend to have thyroid issues, if you tend to have adrenal issues, if you have different types of autoimmune issues, then you may want to consider eliminating coffee for a period of time. Now, caffeine also, we all know, it can tend to keep you awake. That's one of the reasons that we want to drink it in the morning, right? Is that it helps to create more alertness, mental acuity and alertness in the morning, more energy. And so it can tend to interfere with your sleep. It's important to know that the half-life of caffeine is approximately between 8 and 12 hours. So if you were to drink, an early afternoon coffee, let's say 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it's possible that the caffeine from that beverage may continue to affect your body and therefore your sleep until 2 o'clock in the morning. It might be midnight, but up to 2 o'clock in the morning. So do keep that in mind. Now, how can you enjoy coffee and eliminate as much as possible the ill effects from the coffee, especially of the mycotoxins and the rancid oils? Well, it's actually pretty simple. And that is to, number one, only get organic beans. Now, one thing that I failed to mention as far as one of the cons of coffee is that it is actually one of the most pesticide sprayed, crop dusted crop in the world. It is very heavily sprayed with extremely toxic pesticides. So do be aware of that. And that, I think, is also one of the major causes for some of the ill effects that individuals do notice from drinking large amounts of coffee. So the way around that is to only purchase organic coffees and also only purchase whole bean. And the reason for that is that when you purchase the whole bean, then you're going to grind it just before you brew it, and so that eliminates to a large degree the potential of having rancid oils, which is, again, extremely inflammatory. They are pro-carcinogenic, and that's not something you want. You don't want inflammation, you don't want cancer, so do be aware of that. Now, to avoid the mycotoxins, so this again is basically mold within the coffee beans, that is actually a more challenging factor. So it really depends on the type of beans you get. Do not think that just because you are purchasing an organic bean, that means that it doesn't also have organic mold and organic mycotoxins, because most of them do. I mean, 99% of coffees have these mycotoxins because of the molding process. I mean, they store them. It takes a while for them to get them, put in those little bags and shipped to your kitchen countertop. So mold develops quite frequently. There are certain brands that actually test through third-party testing to make sure that they do not contain any of these mycotoxins. That is one of the brands, one of them is what we carry in the clinic, what I drink and my family drinks personally. highly recommend it. It's called Highland Humanity, and Higher Grounds Coffee. So that is one of the few excellent coffees because they go quite a bit out of their way, and it costs more to do that. The third-party testing is very expensive. The storage processes to ensure that they do not start molding, that those beans do not start molding, is quite a bit more intensive, and therefore the coffee is more expensive. But you are getting a much higher quality product. The mold will also somewhat change the taste of coffee, and it's not for the better. So when you get organic, really pure types of coffee that you brew just before you drink it, you'll be amazed what that coffee tastes like. And that if you tend to have problems with drinking coffee like Folgers or Starbucks or whatever the case may be, you could be in for a pretty sweet surprise that you don't have any of those ill effects when you drink a really high quality, organic, ground just before you brew it coffee. So I hope that gives you some better information as far as, is coffee bad for you? Now you can see why the answer is maybe and yes or no, just depending on what's happening. So let's just feel like answering some questions today. So let me just see if there are any. If not, that's fine, and we'll just go on from there. Let's see here. Computer's being a little bit slow to boot up. Just give me 1 second. Hate dead air space. Actually, it's probably not the computer, it's the internet. Okay, here we go. All right, good. And there are absolutely no questions. Great. So, if you are looking for a way to, that's what we specialize in, is called total body restoration. And so through the initial consultation, we'll see if we can help you or not, ascertain and assess your body and what nutritional deficiencies may be inhibiting you towards your goals. And from there, we build a comprehensive plan to help deal and support your body with those issues in mind. So if you're interested in that, you can actually make an initial consultation online through the links that I'll provide, or you can call our office and Tani will be happy to get you down on the schedule. So thanks very much for watching. Again, my name is